Hello, and welcome to the Red Flags Podcast.
The first podcast that takes love, sex, and relationship questions from Reddit and attempts to provide helpful advice based on the experience of two strangers on the internet.
I'm Greg Feeney.
And I'm Deb Gould. And we are those strangers.
How you doing today, Deb?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I am doing pretty good. It's a little bit of a dreary day outside. Kind of rainy, kind of cloudy. But yeah, other than that, it's not too bad.
I mean, indoors is just so normal for me now. It's like I'm not even concerned with outside.
Yeah, the outside is just sort of it's an entity that exists somewhere outside of reality. I don't know.
It's a concept, but I'm less familiar with it every day.
There is something, though, that I wanted to talk about that's not Reddit related.
Okay.
It was a tweet that I read. I thought it was kind of funny, and I wanted to get your opinion on it. And I was the comments, or I don't know, subtweets. Sorry, I'm such a boomer. Like the comments on Twitter. No, the subtweets. Is that right? No, it's not a subtweet. Yeah, it is, right? Is that a subtweet if it's under the tweet?
I mean, it's a reply.
It's a reply. A subtweet is when you like quote somebody in tweet. Is that a
retweet?
That's a retweet.
I don't know. I honestly don't know.
Well,
someone might tell us.
I'm gonna butcher. This is not a Twitter podcast, right? This is a Reddit podcast. So,
and I don't know about either, really.
So basically, this woman, Meg at MJ Horgs, 2 S's, says, "Why is it so awkward when a boy plays guitar for you?" And I don't know why, I just thought this was really funny. My initial reaction was like outrage because I'm like a guitar player. So I was like, oh, real? Oh, I'm sorry. Like, I'm sorry somebody was sweet and played you a song, but like, and it was awkward. Like, but then I thought about it for a second and I was like, I've never ever in my life sat a girl down and been like, I'm going to play my guitar for you.
That's what I was going to ask you. Like, have you done this?
No, and it sounds super cringe. So now I kind of can maybe see where she's coming from.
So, but tell me, like, have you never done this on purpose? Like, did you ever think about doing it? And then we're like, they won't think this is impressive, or...
No, I've never thought. I mean, like, obviously I play my guitar when people are around, but not like, I don't play it at them. Like, I'm not like, you sit here.
Yes.
I'm going to sit here and I want you to like look me
solid
in the
eye contact.
Yeah. I've never
intense eye contact.
Like it's more like, you know, my wife's like doing something and I'm just pick up the guitar and start playing. So, I mean, I'm not like, you know,
right.
But I've never serenaded her.
Okay.
But I did ask her, I was like, so has anyone ever played you the guitar? And she was like, yeah. And I was like, was it awkward? And she was like, not really. But it was like, I guess she said it was her birthday and some guy she worked with like threw her sort of like an impromptu party because I don't know, I guess she didn't really have anything going on. Maybe she hadn't lived in, I think she was in California at the time. She hadn't lived there very long. And the guy was like, I'm going to play you some songs for your birthday. And he sat down with his electric guitar and played her like a bunch of Stone Temple Pilots songs. And I was like, okay, that sounds awkward. And she was like, no, it was fine. I mean, I appreciate it. He was good. It's like, okay, well, I think my wife is
kind.
She's very kind. She's much nicer than me. And she's also much nicer than like most people that I know. So it's possible that, you know, she was just the right audience.
Yeah. I mean, I think it does depend on what they are playing, right? Like, what is the purpose? Because if it is legit, like, you sit here, I'm going to play you this song. Depending on what the song is, could even make it more or less awkward.
Well, let me ask you this. If somebody was to do this to you, would you be more flattered would you enjoy it more if they wrote you a song, or does that make it even cringier than if they just played a cover?
Ooh, I mean, it's complicated because I feel like if they did write me a song, at least that's a good reason to want to like share it with me because I know Stone Temple Pilots songs already. So that's a sweet gesture. Now, if the song is horrible, it's going to be more awkward. If the song's really good and they wrote it for me, okay. I mean, there is like a 3% chance of all of that happening and coming together in a way that's not awkward. So if they can do it, like, oh, shit, that's real good. But
Yeah,
we're
so-
talking 97% chance this is going to be horribly awkward.
Yeah, there was one reply that I was like, okay, yeah, that makes sense. A woman was like, well, it really matters on how good they are. like if they're really good, then it's not that awkward. And then I thought this was kind of a funny reply. Someone said, because you're going to have to confront that your partner is average or maybe a little less than average.
Yeah. I mean, that's real, right? I mean, we're in our 40s. Greg, you've been in bands. I've never been in a band, but I've dated a lot of people who were in bands. There's definitely a difference in like going to that show for your partner when you like their band versus when you would never listen to them unless they were related to you in some way.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever had a partner that was like really into the music, but I've always played like metal and stuff. So it's just kind of like just different tastes, but
Something that I think about too is, are we talking an acoustic guitar? Because like you mentioned that your wife had someone like play an electric guitar at them.
yeah, that is a little different. I don't know. That's more like showing off your skill. Like that's
Yeah.
like, look at me. Biddly, 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 biddly.
Yeah, if you're gonna like noodle
Yeah.
for someone on the
Yeah.
electric guitar, like that's different than if you're gonna sit down with an acoustic guitar and sing a song.
Is this cool or cringe? Bringing a guitar to like a camping situation or like some other kind of like people sitting around outdoors, campfire ish.
I mean, I go to cringe first because I recognize that there might be a moment where it could be fun.
Mm-hmm.
But that's only if the guitarist is like good and actually knows a ton of songs that people want to sing to.
Yeah.
Because you obviously like your mind goes to like almost like a young pastor. I don't know.
That's true.
This is where my mind goes anyway. It's like a Christian youth minister who is going to sing us like a kumbaya type of situation.
Yeah, it does seem like that. So I've like considered it before, like during like camping trips or whatever. And there was one where I almost brought my guitar, and then we were sitting around the fire, and someone was like, "Oh, somebody should have brought a guitar." And I was like, "Oh, I thought about it." And they were like, "Why didn't you?" And I'm like, "I don't know," because it's just like, like it was a bunch of people that I didn't know very well, and I'm like, you know, do you really want to like listen to me play like Bauhaus covers or whatever? Like I don't like you. Yeah, I don't know. Like you got to know your audience, I guess.
Yeah, that's super important.
Okay, let's move on to our first topic. We got some good ones today. Okay, so this will be the debut of the Am I the Asshole subreddit, which we didn't do any of those last time. Just a quick note on this subreddit, and this is mostly for you, Deb, since you're not a Redditor. Basically, people in this subreddit, what they do is they post their scenario, and then people can vote whether they think this person is the asshole. And there's actually like a little voting bot, so they can vote not the asshole, you're the asshole, or everyone sucks here, which basically means like
Everyone's at fault.
Everyone's an asshole.
Okay.
So
and I mean, I will say these have found a home outside of Reddit. Like I've never looked at Reddit, but I've seen these like through Twitter and other social media because they're like, so atrocious.
Yeah, and it's a whole genre. And the one thing that I will say about this subreddit is that, you know, some of these subreddits, I'm more suspicious that there's like creative writing going on in these. And I find this one to be one where I'm suspicious the most because oftentimes they're written in a way to where the headline reads, you're like, oh yeah, you're going to be the asshole. And then you read the body and it's like, no way. Like you're like this. It's just like it's such a twist. Like it's like, you know, these threads are made by M. Night Shyamalan or whatever. Like and to me, I'm like, that's probably means they're fake. But, this one is not like that. So I actually like this one because it's something that I feel like I won't say anything yet. I'll just read it. This comes from user Jemmy44. Am I the asshole for hiding embarrassing notes in my house as a joke because I know my fiance's mom snoops? I bought a house 7 years ago and I met my fiance, Al, 4 years ago. This year he moved in. We're talking about making it a home for both of us. But as of now, he hasn't moved much stuff in. Right now, 95% of the stuff and furniture in the house is mine. When his mom comes over, she's kind of a snoop. He was used to that. But when she comes to our house, it's so uncomfortable because she's just going through my shit. When I'm bothered, she's like, I was just helping with chores, etc. He says I should just let her because she has a lot of nervous energy. One thing she snooped on was actually embarrassing. In my home office, I had a little affirmation post on my monitor saying, I am smart, I am skilled, I am deserving of great things. It was a silly thing my therapist recommended to me to get confident mindset before an interview. Anyway, she made a comment about my ego, but as a joke, I decided to do it again. I had my best friend over and we got wine drunk and wrote a bunch of affirmations to hide. Some were one in the medicine cabinet that said, my teeth will regrow, I am shark-like and powerful. One in the kitchen drawer, I know when to spoon, but I also know when to fork. I am sexy and self-assured. One in the work desk, I will not just fuck my way to the top of the company, I will fuck my way to the top of the world. And in the walk-in closet, I'm beautiful, with clothes and without, especially without. My boobs are legendary. There were a bunch more, and my friend and I had a hilarious time writing them. Next time my mother-in-law came over, she saw a few, and she didn't acknowledge them to me, even though she definitely started acting a little weird. I went to run some errands, and when I was out, she confronted Al about the notes and was trying to tell them that I seemed unstable, egotistical, and moving in was a bad idea. She showed him the notes, and he didn't really know what to make of it. He asked me, and I said they were just some silly private notes to boost my self-confidence and make myself laugh. How had she gotten them? Had she been going through my things? He said she was just tidying and saw them, and they were real weird. I was like, have you met me? You should know how weird I am. Anyway, if you don't want your mom seeing my weird shit, you gotta stop letting her go through my shit. He asked if I left them on purpose to annoy her, and I admitted that it was kind of the joke. But I also have other weird or private shit, so what I said about her needing to stop snooping if she didn't want to find weird crap was still for real. He said I was making stuff hard for him. His mom was really protective and adjusting to him moving in with a girlfriend for the first time, and I was agitating her on purpose and making her think I wouldn't be a good partner when he wanted her to have the opposite impression of me. Am I the asshole for the note prank?
Wow. Okay.
That was a long one. Sorry.
Yeah. No, it's good. This is a good one. I like this one a lot.
What do you think? First impressions?
First impression is that this dude needs to talk to his mom, right? What are you thinking?
No, totally. Holy shit. Like, this is her house that she bought 7 years ago.
Right.
And yeah, the mother-in-law is super out of bounds here. I wanted to plug, there's a Reddit called Just Know MIL, Just Know Mother-in-Law.
Okay.
And it's basically filled with people dealing with problems just like this. And it's, I think it's kind of a support group for people to kind of learn to stand up against obnoxious mother-in-laws.
I mean, I think initially I'm struggling with the idea of these home visits, right? Because this mother-in-law does not have a close relationship with this girl. Mm-hmm. Obviously, a very close relationship, or maybe a too close relationship with her adult son. But why is she there and not just like visiting? I've never gone to someone's house unless they needed like help cleaning and like busied myself in someone else's home.
Yeah, it seems like there's a little bit of like mama's boy thing happening here, and there probably needs to be some boundaries, and this guy needs to grow up a little bit and not rely on mommy so much. I mean, yeah, I could imagine that this could get really annoying.
Yeah. And then the other piece that I was kind of alarmed by initially was the girl makes these fake notes specifically with the mother in mind, right? They're meant for the mother. With her friend, but doesn't initially tell her partner about these notes, right? Like the partner only finds out about these weird notes that she left specifically for his mom from his mom. He lives at this house. Like,
Like how he didn't see them. How did he not see them? That's what you're saying? Like,
I
yeah.
mean, I guess he's not going in every drawer on the daily, so I get that. But the fact that they didn't have this conversation and that, like, she was doing this for his mom's, well, not her benefit, but for her as an audience and didn't tell her partner feels kind of rude. So, like, in that, I'm like, yeah, that's kind of like an asshole move.
Yeah, and if I was going to say one thing that maybe she could have backed off a little bit was the one about how she's gonna like fuck her way up to the top of the world. Like, I think on that one you might want to be like, yeah, my husband's probably not gonna be too happy that his mom. I mean, even though the mother-in-law is totally at fault, you kind of have to still weigh the outcome, the
Yeah,
consequences for that.
absolutely.
I think the other ones were pretty benign. Like, originally the first note that the mom found that kind of like was the catalyst for this prank. It says it was in her home office, so it's not like we can really give mother-in-law a pass. Like, oh, she's maybe just digging in the kitchen counter for something, or
Right.
like she's in the home office looking through her stuff. Like, that's just crappy.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's absolutely weird that this mom is going through personal things in a home that her son just moved into. It's not even fully, like, he hasn't lived there for a long time yet.
She sounds really protective and like jealous or something like that, which I always think is a freaking weird thing. Like,
Yeah.
I, I don't know. I've heard of people have moms like that, and that's just like really clingy and bizarre.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think the notes were pretty funny overall, though, and she seems like she's got a good support group and her friends, so that's good. But I think just basically, except for maybe crossing the line a little bit by not like involving the husband, I think there needs to be some more communication there, and he needs to grow a fucking spine, or else the mother-in-law is going to continue to be a problem and could potentially fuck up their marriage. So.
Yeah, agreed. I mean, I would have already had a conversation, of course, but I mean, I would definitely be upset if my mother-in-law was continually like continuing this behavior and my partner said nothing to them.
Yes. Yeah, you want your partner to be on your side, stand up for you, things like that. And
Absolutely.
I would just send a note out to parents out there. Give your kids, like, allow them to set boundaries, and because if you don't, they're going to be the kind of people that don't know how to set boundaries, and then they're going to piss off their spouses, just like this guy basically. Although she's not really directing it at him,
Yeah.
but I think she probably could direct some of this at him. Like, hey, why isn't my husband like sticking up for my privacy or something like that? Is it really so hard to be like, hey, mom, could you maybe not?
Yeah, I mean, it feels really positive that she's kind of, instead of focusing any kind of upset or hurt feelings on her husband, has made this like an entertaining thing for herself. And, putting those notes around the house, I feel like that might be the first phase of this uncomfortableness, but it will get worse. All right, so we are going to move on to the next topic. This one comes from r/relationship advice, which is always weird for me to say because I have no idea what I'm talking about, but it'll get more comfortable. The user's name is Anon9280. So the heading is, how normal/concerning is it for a man in a relationship to fantasize about other women? I, female 27, find it concerning that my boyfriend, male 31, does this and makes no attempt to exercise self-discipline, but I want to hear what other people think. We've been going out for 5 months, and he said he never had this until the other week when he felt distant from me, because apparently I can be emotionally distant. He admitted to indulging in these thoughts as escapism from feeling bad or exploring the ideas, not because he doesn't want me or wants someone else better, according to him. I get intrusive or exciting thoughts of other people, myself, which I think is natural to some degree, especially when you feel some distrust or distance with your partner. Not good when it happens too often or detracts from your relationship. But I am careful not to purposely indulge in those thoughts or think about it when I masturbate because I feel crossing those boundaries isn't fair on my partner. Am I expecting too much? I don't want to police his thoughts, but I do want to be with someone who has similar boundaries and values to me. Also, I think if he's going to do this, I feel I shouldn't bother controlling my own racy thoughts about others. Also, I don't think it would bother me so much if he hadn't told me he fantasized a lot about other girls when he was with his first girlfriend. And it got to a point where he had to think about other people just to have sex with her. He said this only happened during the last year or two of their 7 years because the relationship became problematic and he was much more immature and he would deal with it differently if it happened again. But when we discussed all this, he just got defensive. TDLR, I'm worried what my boyfriend fantasizing about other women means about his morals and his feelings about me.
First of all, she wrote TDLR. I guess she meant
TLDR.
but
Too long, didn't read, but we read it. So
yeah, sometimes people are considerate and give a little summary at the end. Yikes. Okay. A lot of stuff going on here.
Let me read this other piece of it. He told me because I asked him about it, and we are always honest with each other. But this followed our first argument, which was me interrogating him about whether he's a horrible misogynist and putting him on trial.
Which that's in quotes, because she's saying I think that was his interpretation. He interpreted it as she was interrogating him.
Got it. Okay. Actually, it was me trying to figure out if he's a shallow person based on some comments he made last week. The comment that pissed me off was when I asked him if he fancied me for my personality as well as my looks. He said, no, I like you a lot as a person and could be your good friend, but people fancy people for their looks. Among other comments he's made, I was worried about that, and this led to our first argument, which led to this conversation about fantasizing.
Well, first of all, I just want to say, you can masturbate to whatever you want in your own imagination, and nobody should ever want to or try to stop you. That's ridiculous. It's your own head. It's literally the one place where you can say or do anything and nobody will, there's no harm. You can't harm anybody by thinking something. So unless you're thinking of something that's intrusive or upsetting to you personally, then there should be no issue there. Secondly, you don't have to tell your partner everything. Like, I feel like I'm like, what? Why does this dude just shut his damn mouth? Like, there's just some things you don't need to communicate to your partner, you know? Like, yeah. I think that specifically when you start talking about, she mentions that what he did with his ex, how he used to, when I was with my ex, I used to think about other women so that I could finish. That's just something you probably don't want to tell your partner because it's just fuel down the road. They're always going to keep that in the back of their mind. So I think I learned this lesson too late. When you meet somebody new, treat it as if they might end up being your long-term partner with the things that you say, because sometimes you say things because you're just like, oh, well, it's new relationship and we're being open, and it's like you might want to like gauge more of like where this relationship's going and what that person's like. Like, for example, some people are totally fine with hearing detailed sexual accounts from your past, and other people don't really like that. And it's kind of like you should figure that out before you go there.
Yeah, I mean, it's a difficult thing to figure out, especially at the beginning, but I think that is related to what you're saying about the beginning of a relationship. Like, let's talk first, second date. And you're just trying to like download as much information about each other as you can. There's definitely things that I've either said or people have said to me in those instances that were like, why? Oh shit, why'd you tell me that? Because I'm never going to forget that.
Right. But then when we get to her comment where she says the reason it came up is because it sounds like she's sort of like bothering him for this information. So it's like, why are you digging for information about something that you don't want to know anyways, Right.
Yeah. I mean, my first reaction to this was, it's only been 5 months.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Like, 5 months of dating.
Yeah, you should still be firmly in the honeymoon phase.
Oh my goodness. It should be so fucking good. And to be in a spot where you're talking about like someone feeling like they're interrogated over controlling their thoughts or wanting to know, like, are you thinking of me right now? Are you always thinking of me? And the attachment to morality, like that piece is challenging for me.
Yeah, no, this would be a big no for me if somebody was coming at me like this. The thing that she took a big the thing that she was angry about to me seems pretty innocuous. He said that, first of all, she's like asking him these like trap questions, which I think is really crappy. Like,
Yeah.
when people are like asking you, they want an honest answer from you, but really they're trying to like, they have kind of a goal. Like, I want to find out if you would cheat. I want to find out if you're a misogynist, if you're a racist, if you're this, like, and that's just really unfair way to treat people, I feel like. And all he said, she asked him if he fancied her for her personality as well as my looks. He said, "No, I like you a lot as a person and could be your good friend, but people fancy people for their looks." I don't know. I mean, it seems like a dumb answer, but at the same time, like, is it really, like, why would you get so angry about that? Like, clearly, the difference between a romantic relationship and a platonic relationship is that there's some sort of attraction.
Right.
So it is very important component of it. You like, I know people want to say like, oh, you know, beauty is skin deep and what's on the inside and all that. It's like, but look, if you're not attracted to your partner, then that's going to probably be an issue. And look, I understand attraction can change depending on how you perceive someone, you know, like you might see someone and they might not seem that attractive, but then once you get to know them, their personality will then you'll be attracted to the way they look because of who they are.
Right.
Right?
Absolutely. I mean, have you ever been like fully aware of that moment?
No, but I've been aware of the opposite moment where I was with a really, really attractive woman and then was like, ugh, like I can't even find this person attractive anymore because like their personality is kind of ugly. So I've definitely been in that. Yeah,
it's weird. It's almost like a hallucination.
Yeah, I was starting to see a girl a long time ago, and I mean, she was like really, really good looking. We were at an Arby's drive-thru. Don't ask me why I was at an Arby's drive-thru.
It's a hot date.
Yeah. And and she was rude to the Arby's drive-thru worker for no reason. Like there wasn't even not that there would ever be a good reason to be rude to an Arby's drive-thru worker, but there certainly wasn't one. She was just being rude just because she could.
Yeah.
And it was literally in that moment I was like, nope.
That would have killed it for me too.
Yeah. I already knew that this wasn't going to work. Yeah. So.
All right. Sorry to get on that tangent, but it is really interesting. Yeah, I mean, I think she needs some therapy. I mean, she is never going to be able to be in a successful relationship if this is what she's worried about. You know, if you're just worried about what your partner is thinking, like, I think one of the hardest things about being in a relationship is no matter how long it is, whether it's 5 months or 50 years, you can't know everything that your partner is thinking, and you shouldn't even want to.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And I think you need to set a boundary of what you want to hear and what you don't want to hear, you know? Like you need to decide for yourself, like, okay, what am I okay knowing about? Like some people would be like, oh, my partner describes their like fantasies and past sexual encounters and I think it's really hot. And then you make that clear, and then you maybe could even have a boundary there. Be like, okay, I don't mind if you tell me about past things, but maybe don't say the name of the person, or if it's somebody I know, maybe don't say who it is, or you know, you have to figure out what it is you're okay with and what you're not okay with, and then make that clear.
Yeah, and you need to ask for what you want, because I know in my relationship, we had been together for years, like a few years at least, and I kind of realized, shit, I don't really know anything about his past like relationships. I didn't want to know about like what sex was like on a Friday. But I just wanted to kind of understand basics, right? Like who, how long, how did it end, that sort of thing. And so I was like, hey, I want to know this. And it was actually, I remember it being such a good conversation because they were like, you know, I had never shared this because I've had relationships in the past where my ex was like really jealous even of past relationships. And so I didn't want to upset you. Right? So it's like you learn from people that you're with along the way, but then you drag that shit into the next one.
Yeah. I'll give my personal example. So my wife doesn't want to hear anything about my past stuff, but she can literally tell me anything. Like, and she's told me stuff that would probably make other people like, like, I don't want to hear that, but I don't care. I'm just like, no, I don't. I mean, it's a past. Like, it's not, it's not, for me, it's nothing to get jealous about, but I understand some people would get jealous. And if you're one of those people, then you just make that clear. Like, hey, I don't need to hear explicit details, or don't ask, Yeah. I felt like this dude, though, like, he was in a situation where he should have been like dipping his toes in the water first to see where he was at. And instead he just like did a belly flop right into the deep end. But I do agree with you. I think this is mainly her problem, that if she doesn't deal with it, then I think this is going to be an issue in just every relationship she's at. And she's 27. So I feel like she's at the age where it's like, you're either gonna be like this the rest of your life, or you need to do something now. I don't think people get set in their ways.
Yeah, and I think the interesting part for me too is she mentioned having similar like thoughts, right? That she had thoughts sexually, probably about other people or whatever, that she was trying to control, but she only wants to control it the same amount that her partner is controlling it, right? This idea that like you have to either suffer together or I don't know. I mean, what is your take on that piece of like trying to, I don't know if she's trying to have like the same amount of indulgence, I guess is the best word.
Yeah, I thought that part was interesting too. I mean, I think she needs to she can fantasize what she wants to fantasize about. He can fantasize about what he wants to fantasize about. And clearly they just shouldn't even talk about it, because I don't think that's going to work.
Yeah.
All right. So our next topic comes from r/relationship advice again. And it's from user throwaway and then a bunch of numbers. So I'm not going to read all those. My husband says that because I, quote, don't do anything all day, I should have no problem cooking dinner. Last night, my 36-year-old female husband, 37-year-old male, got into an argument because I was unable to make the dinner that he wanted last night. He went into a rage, telling me that I, quote, work from home, so it should be easy for me to do the things that needed to be done because I just sit home all day, end quote. This absolutely pissed me off because yes, I do work from home, but I'm a medical transcriber. I work 8 to 10 hours a day while taking care of 3 children, 2 of which are toddlers, all while trying to keep the house as clean as I can. He works 8-hour days as well, but he owns his company and can decide when his hours are. When he comes home, the first thing he does, turns on the TV, plays his video games, doesn't play with the kids, doesn't ask me how my day was, but he has the audacity to say that I do nothing all day. I'm beyond upset with my husband, and I don't really know what to do at this point.
Oh, you should scream on podcasts, but I want to. This guy is such an asshole.
Yeah, he's a giant asshole.
But it's hard because I mean, I think you and I will be on the same page in that like, holy shit, like there's a big difference between working from home and just sitting at home all day.
Yeah.
Right?
And working from home and then having 3 kids there and 2 are toddlers.
Oh
like,
my God.
If my wife was doing that, I would come home from my job and like rub her feet and like tell her to go like fuck off and do something while I play with the kids and
right. Like he should be coming home and taking over, if anything, or he should be coming home and starting the dinner.
I mean, I would even say if she was just a stay-at-home mom, right, with 3 kids, he should still be coming home and relieving her of at least for like an hour. Like let her like decompress for an hour because, I've been in this scenario before, and when you're at a job and you're for one, you get to interact with other adults. 2, you get to leave the house. Mm-hmm. And 3, you get moments to yourself throughout the day. And I'm assuming he probably goes and eats lunch or what, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
when you're home with 3 kids all day, you don't get a break unless you're like really lucky and your kids like all nap like super well.
At the
Which,
same time.
yeah, good luck. That doesn't happen. So yeah, this dude would already be an asshole if she wasn't working 8 to 10 hours a day. And the fact that she's even able to do this, she's saving them like what, $1,200 a month in childcare, $1,500 a month, like
Yeah,
just by
probably
doing
more.
this. Yeah. So like, damn, like what a prick.
Yeah. I mean, the hardest thing is if I mean, you and I read this paragraph and are already like, oh my God, look at the value that this person is bringing to their family. Not only bringing in an income, but saving them money for childcare. But just the amount of labor that's involved in her day to day, and also like keeping the house clean on top of everything. So it's like the one thing that's missing in this picture for him was dinner. And I'm just like, how do you get someone that is in this place who legitimately cannot see everything that she's doing and cannot have any compassion or empathy for her experience? How do you get them from here to appreciation? Like, can that be done?
Yeah, it's probably she gets a divorce and maybe he realizes what an asshole he was. I don't know. I don't even know that would work, but that's like I feel like I don't know. There's other troubling things too. He went into a rage, she says, which is
Yeah.
like it's a very that's a very loaded word, you know? Like if he was in a rage, that level of even if let's say that for some reason it was justified for him to be irritated or upset that she didn't make dinner, which it absolutely is not. Going into a rage it's in itself is already messed up and like
Yeah.
so obviously I don't know. I'm a little worried for this person. I don't know. Like I if I was her, I would try to take some kind of, maybe like obviously therapy would have to be like couples counseling would have to be a thing. And I would definitely stick to my guns to where if he doesn't improve or he refuses to do any of the work, then like this is pretty much a clear express ticket to divorce.
Okay, I agree. But let me ask you a question. Let's say that we were doing this podcast before podcasts, and it was 1983, and we were reading this scenario.
Oh boy. Okay.
Do you think our responses to this would be different?
Probably. I mean, I don't know because I was 3. So my response then would have been like, probably just like bang on the microphone. But yeah, I'm sure that in aggregate though, people would feel differently. I don't know though, because even in the like classic example of like mom stays at home with the kids and dad brings home the bacon, the woman is not pulling 8 to 10 hour shifts.
Right.
And that wasn't part of it.
Yeah.
So to me, it's like, I don't understand. I don't even understand where this guy's coming from. Like, I think I mentioned in the first podcast that I wanted to try to empathize with people that is difficult.
Yeah.
I'm having a real hard time empathizing with this guy.
Yeah.
If I want to be like super, super charitable, I would say he's got a lot of issues that are not been addressed.
Yeah.
And he needs like some serious help or else he's just going to be an asshole.
Well, and I think my attempt to like time travel to 1983 was related to the empathy that I was trying to have.
Okay.
Because when I think about my own like upbringing, my mom did work during the day at home. She also had her own like daycare. So she was taking care of children for 8 to 10 hours a day. My dad was doing like manual labor. And there was an expectation that she would get dinner on the table by 5:30. Right? So at that time, that wasn't weird. Right?
Yeah.
It was like you learn what the expectations of partners should be, like a large part by your parents. So I'm kind of just curious. It doesn't make anything right, and this guy's totally in the wrong and needs to understand and appreciate. Like he needs to stay home and work from home and take care of his kids for a day if he's never done that and see how it goes for him.
Well,
I
yeah,
wonder
but
what.
he would probably be calling her constantly. Where's this? How do I do this? Where's this? You know
Absolutely.
what I mean?
Absolutely. But that would be a great like experiment in compassion building for him if they were going to try to stay together. But I'm just saying I do wonder what kind of family he comes from, and is he just expecting dinner because that's what he's seen men do. Again, he's not living in the past, but it would be interesting to know if that is the model that he is working with in his brain. And yeah.
That's true. And we don't know how long they've been married, but they have 3 children, 2 toddlers, one that's not a toddler. So we're going to assume they've been together, probably maybe a decade or better part of a decade.
Yeah.
And if I had to levy some criticism on this woman, is that these are the kind of things that you have to address like early, and once you let them go on and on and on, then the expectations will be off.
Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
I wonder if this woman's not been a little bit shy about speaking her mind and sticking up for herself, because it seems like maybe she finally just got so frustrated or fed up or couldn't handle him flying off or whatever that she said something. I will say that I feel like this is a very common story and that it usually doesn't end well. That's typically how I feel about these. You mentioned about modeling behavior, how kids model behavior off their parents.
Yeah.
Which I think is actually, or well, that's not exactly what you said. I guess you did. You're basically saying the husband was modeled, this behavior was modeled for him probably when he was a kid. So this is like what makes it even more important that she is firm here and, makes this an issue that they can work on. And if it's not fixed, then she needs to get out. And I know that a lot of times that there's people in these kind of scenarios, and divorcing with kids seems really daunting. And a lot of people kind of have that whole mantra of like, stay together for the children. And I think that is a very bad idea. Although divorce with kids is not easy, if you're going to be in an unhealthy or unhappy relationship, that's where your kids are getting their model for what relationships are like.
Yeah.
So you're not only are you living like in a bad scenario for yourself, you're now setting up your kids to grow up and probably be in bad relationships also. So the kids would actually gain a lot more to see their mom put a stop to it and say, look, if you're not going to contribute or you're going to act this way, then bye.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I mean, it brings up for me too, like you said, they've probably been together for a decade or close to that. The need to have really hard conversations and really specific conversations before you decide to be in a long-term relationship with someone. That's not something that we have, we don't see our parents have difficult conversations, even if they have them, right? And we definitely don't see it in like film.
Mm-hmm.
So I know that's why I give this dorky gift to like my nieces and nephews when they are in like a long-term relationship. It's that Gottman book, 8 Dates.
Okay.
And basically it's like 8 dates that are like guided conversations.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
that's
it's
a great
so
idea.
important.
Yeah, I think so too.
All right, so we're going to move into our next topic, also from r/relationship advice. There's no title on this one, but we'll call it open relationship. So my 23 male, they are a 23-year-old male. So my girlfriend, a 22-year-old female, and I have been dating for 3 years, and it's been great. We get along, no issues. We both have video games as a shared hobby, and spending time with her is just the light of my day. I really think she's the one. Now here's my problem. Sexually, we've been pretty adventurous, trying a lot of things. Basically, one of us would pitch the idea, we'd talk about how we would give it a shot, and set a date. Last week, she approached me about trying an open relationship, or try another man or woman in the bed, and one of us would watch. I feel like I'm an open-minded person, but the thought of watching her with someone else or saying goodbye to her knowing she's going over to another guy's place just really hurt my chest. She seemed really excited on the idea, so I said I'd think it over, and she was already looking disappointed at me for not giving an immediate okay. I want her to be happy, and she's been accepting of all the kinks I've brought forward, so it feels like I'm cheating her of hers. I pretty much have until Wednesday, and talking to a friend of mine didn't help me feel much better about the situation. So here I am. Any help would be greatly appreciated. Thank you for reading. TLDR, girlfriend wants to try having a third person / seeing other people. I don't like her seeing other men and do not want to see other women. Throwaway because she follows my main.
Do you know what that means?
I don't know what that means.
He means that he has another Reddit account, and that's his main account, and he uses this. He's using a throwaway account, like just like a random account that can't be traced back to him.
Okay. This is too complicated of a world for me to live in, honestly. Like to have the other account so my partner will see that. It's like just talk to each other, but they've asked for what we think, so.
Really, this is easy. He says, I don't like seeing her with other men, and I don't want to see other women. Okay, dude, then you don't want an open relationship.
Right.
And that's okay. And you just should communicate that. There's really not a whole lot to say other than don't do something you're not comfortable with. And if she can't handle that, like she needs that, well, then that's probably not a good relationship for the both of you.
Okay, that is super true, and I agree, Greg. But no, this is the end of the fucking world. This is a 22-year-old and a 23-year-old human being who, he said, they've been dating for 3 years, right? So they met. One of them was 20, one of them was 19. They have grown up together. They are connected. They have shared hobbies. They play video games together, and he thinks that she is it. Like he fucking loves this girl and is so into her. And the idea of it ending is probably enough to make him vomit. Right?
That's a very good point. I think I was in a relationship like that, and it's like, it's the kind of thing where like when we broke up, I stayed up all night and like listened to a sad song on repeat and like cried and thought that my life was over at like 20. Absolutely.
And I feel like he is this is like his first early life crisis, right? Where he probably knows, he said it clearly at the end, right? I don't like seeing her with other men. I don't want to see other women. That's the right answer. Like you said, this is an easy one. But if you try to put yourself in his body and mind, like this feels so impossible. And I think what will likely happen is he will let her do what she wants to do just so he doesn't lose her. Right?
Yeah, I'm afraid that might happen. Well, what I would tell him is, first of all, he's saying like, oh, well, she indulges my kinks, so I feel bad because I'm not indulging hers. So, first of all, once you bring a third party into sex, that's like a master level kink. This isn't a beginner kink, an intermediate. This is straight to this is grandmaster kink.
Yeah.
And it can't be wielded by just anyone. It's like if you're playing an RPG and there's like the sword that you can't use till you're level 60. That's basically what an open relationship is. It cannot be wielded until you've achieved enough experience to wield it correctly. So,
and you can't move into that if you're clearly not on the same page.
Definitely not. You have to be on the same page or else it will always end badly. So my take on open relationships are they're fine and they're right for some people. They take a certain type of person to be successful. And I think that if there's any doubt in his mind that he maybe could be into it, but he's just feels like he's probably not. Like, if he's like 100% sure, then he should just stick to his guns. But if there's like even a little part of him that's like, well, I don't know, maybe, then there's ways to sort of like dabble and not just like skip straight to like some dude fucks my girlfriend. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
Do some role play, maybe some like exhibitionism, like maybe go to a swingers club and don't do anything with anybody, but like just check it out, see how you feel.
Yeah.
You could even fuck around a little bit with just each other and see how it feels. But like, the whole thing is that he would still need to be straightforward and be like, look, it's highly possible that this is just not my thing. And that would have to be the approach, I think.
Absolutely. Yeah. I just feel so bad for this person because I can sense like how hard this is. Because he probably knows what the right answer is. And it seems like his friend probably told him exactly what you said, right? Like, this isn't going to work if you don't want this to happen, but they're really excited about it. And you already think they're disappointed. This could be going a negative way. It's just a lot of feelings.
Yeah, I agree. Well, like you said, I really don't think there's anything that anyone could say that is probably going to be much help. I think he already knows what the deal is. So
yeah.
All right. So the last topic of the day, we're going to be introducing our new feature or segment, I guess, if you want to call it, which is going to be called...
Yeah, Disaster of the Week.
Disaster of the Week. That's right. We did say that.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. So this is the Disaster of the Week. And maybe we'll get like a cool soundbite or something.
Car crash noise.
Yeah. Yeah, that would be good. So the poster is a 38-year-old female, and her husband is a 37-year-old male. Her husband drunkenly admitted he only settled for her because his first choice was unavailable, and he wishes he could have gotten back together with his ex. This is from user, it's another throwaway, but she calls herself Throw R.A. Belated Beau. And this is from Relationship Advice. So thank you, Relationship Advice. You're giving us a lot of content this week. My husband and I have been married for 13 years. We have 3 children together. 10-year-old boy, 6-year-old boy, 5-year-old girl. We got together less than a year after he and his ex broke up because she was moving to another state. They'd been together through high school and college. I had no indication there was any feelings left over from that relationship. He led me to believe he was completely over it by the time we got together. Even after she moved back to our town, I never got the idea that there was anything still there. Last night, he went to his friend's bachelor party because his friend is marrying my husband's ex. He got very drunk at the bachelor party, which was a surprise because he's never been a particularly big drinker. I had to come out and pick him up. He rambled drunkenly the entire way home, and at one point mentioned he was depressed his ex was getting married because he still had some hope they might get back together. He admitted to me that he settled for me after their relationship ended. He said if he'd known she was coming back to town, he would have waited for her, and he wished he had waited. He assured me he does like me and he's happy with me, but he sees her as the one who got away and he regrets that. And if he could go back and do it again, he would have waited for her and tried to rekindle the relationship rather than getting together with me. I didn't say anything, probably because I knew if I tried to speak, I would probably cry. He either doesn't remember that conversation, or most of the latter part of the evening for that matter, or is too embarrassed to bring it up. I have no idea where to go from here. My husband basically just admitted he wishes he didn't marry me, and he only did because he thought he'd never have a chance to get back with his ex. I love him so much, and I thought he felt the same, but it seems I was very much mistaken.
Gut punch.
Brutal.
Yeah. Ugh. Man, okay. There's a lot.
Well, I would just say straight up, this man just nuked his entire marriage. It's not completely dead necessarily, but it's on life support, and it would take years to probably bounce back from this, if it's even possible.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I just got bad news, right? Like, I don't know. I think for me, in relationships, it's one of those things of like knowing yourself, being self-aware enough to know what is something that you can get over and what is something that you just know is always going to live right behind your ear and come out. This sort of scenario, if I were this 38-year-old female, I just know that there's really not much amount of counseling that could get me to a place where I would feel comfortable in this relationship. But 13 years, 3 kids. Like I totally would understand the reticence to end that without some sort of effort. But no, like I know I couldn't do it.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, he's basically put a huge burden on his wife to overcome this. It's like
Yeah.
the ball is now in her court. Like, I mean, it's in his court in the sense that he should and will need to do a lot to regain her trust. So whether or not he's even capable of doing that, it may be a moot point. But just assuming that he, like, you know, feels terrible, apologizes profusely, you know, basically puts her at the center of his universe for years, goes to therapy, works that all out, etc. And even then, damn, that's still going to be hard for her to just trust him again.
Yeah. Well, and it's that idea of like, that idea that what you thought was there isn't there, right? Like she said that she was led to believe that there was no, you know, leftover feelings from that former relationship, even though she does call it out that, you know, they got together less than a year after his breakup, which I think is kind of pointing at that, was I a rebound that turned into a 13-year marriage with 3 kids, right? And I mean, I think there's so much, there's so many feelings on rebounds, and are those real? How do you avoid that in your relationship life? I don't know the answer to that.
Yeah, I mean, I think that rebound, I don't know. For me, when I think of rebounds, it's like a rebound's only a rebound if you haven't wrapped up the last chapter yet, you know?
Yeah.
Like, it's really not contingent on the person that you're dating. Like, I feel like it's more like just withholding. Like, it's like you could be fully into this new person if you didn't already have a piece of yourself that you were sort of reserving.
Yeah.
So, you know, I think that when people say, "Oh, it was just a rebound," I think it's more like that was the other person's problem. They probably could have fully loved you if they weren't withholding a part of themselves.
Yeah.
I don't think it necessarily says like I don't think it necessarily says anything bad about the person that is the rebound, but
Right.
I also feel like nostalgia is a hell of a drug, and this dude may just be feeling the effects of being in a long-term relationship and having 3 kids, and, you know, being in this scenario that probably, I mean, most people land themselves here and feel a little trapped unless you've actually done some work in your relationship, which a lot of people don't. So I think that could be a big element of that, and that what he should have done is improved his relationship, his current relationship.
I mean, the drunk admission piece of it all, right? That he overshared and then maybe doesn't remember all of it, is like another piece to this puzzle that is just miserable. I mean, my least favorite part, right? He assured me he does like me.
He likes her, not loves her, not like he likes her.
He does like her, all right. He's happy with me. Well,
Yeah.
I fucking hope so.
That doesn't sound good.
It doesn't feel good either. Ugh.
So this brings up sort of a little bit of a sidebar, but it's related. The concept of settling. What does it mean to settle? And is settling okay in some ways? Do we all settle somehow? Like, I mean,
Yes.
You're never going to find the perfect person, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think the word settling is so problematic because, yeah, there's no one perfect person for each person. And I mean, this will offend people that feel differently, but like, I don't personally believe in a soulmate, a single soulmate. Like, to me, I'm like, that's bullshit, right? There was a world full of people, and there is a pretty large number of people that I think I would enjoy spending a long amount of time with. So I don't really buy into that idea of like the one. Maybe the ones.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, since you mentioned it, I'll have to bring it up. There was Dan Savage says one of his favorite things that he says is that you don't try to find the one, you try to find 0.72 or 0.78 or zero point 0.8 or even 0.66, and then you round up, because you could spend all your life trying to get a little bit higher on the compatibility scale.
Yeah.
But really, there should just be this Goldilocks zone of compatibility where you could make a relationship work with anyone that fits in that zone.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much how you should approach it. And I don't know. This guy feels like, did he say he settled, or did she say that? I can't remember.
Admitted he only settled for me.
Okay. Because his first choice was unavailable. Yeah,
Right.
no, that's trash. But
Yeah.
anyways, that was just kind of a side thing that I was thinking about. It was like,
I
we
think
all
that's-
settle in some ways. I mean, that's just a part of, if you're going to enmesh your life with another person's life, you settle. If you're going to have children, you settle. Like your kids will never be perfect little creatures. There are always going to be problems, and you're going to have to give and take with them, with your partner. I mean, that's just part of it.
Well, I think, settling, like, the only way that you, like, avoid settling is to never date or see anyone.
Yeah.
Right? Because essentially what you're doing is you're, like, arbitrarily picking a person in a moment. It's like, instead of saying, oh, well, I might meet someone a little bit, closer to ticking all my boxes next week, right? Like, that's the only way to avoid settling, is to just not.
Yeah. Or harking back to the last topic, you could, if you're like in an open relationship or a poly relationship, then you don't have to worry about it, because you're just like, oh, well, as long as enough of my needs get met, then
Right.
I can always get my needs met elsewhere. So
Yeah.
that is the one thing I think is really tricky about monogamous relationships, is that there are certain things that you can only get from your partner. So if you don't get those needs met from your partner, can be very, very, very poisonous to your relationship. Okay, so I think that was pretty good. How'd you feel, Deb?
I feel good. I mean, these were all interesting topics, and I feel like we could expand on all of them for way too long. But I think something I'm starting to think is, like, as time goes on, we might need some sort of, like, negative relationship palate cleanser, because some of these are just so negative and horrible and hard. Like, is there a bright point? Like,
That's
good
true.
relationship?
I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I think people are here for the train wrecks, if they're going to be here at all. But, it's
This is
kind of
true.
like looking at car accident on the other side of the freeway.
You're right.
I mean, if I want to be meta here for a second and think about the kind of people that like to listen to podcasts like this, they're probably here for one of two reasons, I think. First reason would be,
They're your mom.
yes. No, my mom's not going to listen to this. I don't think.
My mom will absolutely listen to this, and I think she already subscribed to your personal YouTube channel. Like, she is anything her kids do, she's on it.
Okay, well, now I have the weight of that on my shoulders, knowing that your mom is going to be listening. So now I'm like, okay, I got to button this up, because I don't want Mama Gould upset at me. So yeah, so maybe there's three reasons. One, it's your mom. Two, people want to better their own relationships, so they're trying to, like, learn about, like, different things that can happen and maybe, like, possible ways to work on stuff. Three is more like why people listen to murder podcasts. It's like they just want to see the shit shows,
Yeah.
So,
Absolutely.
okay, well, I don't know. Maybe we can talk about, like, puppies or something one day, or or bring. Well, I think eventually I'd like to have some guests, and it would be nice to have some couples.
Yeah, that would be fun.
And that could be, like, a little bit uplifting. Like, hey, let's have some couples who are, in a successful relationship, and, answer some questions with them or something like that. And I've got a few things in mind, but I don't want to tease them just yet. So
Yeah, no, that sounds really good.
One thing I wanted to bring up before we bring this to a wrap, I can't remember if we mentioned this last week or not, but we plan to release an episode every week. I think we mentioned that we were going to do a season of 10 episodes, but
Yes.
just so you know, it's going to be weekly. So if you do enjoy it, subscribe wherever you get your podcast from, and be ready for more episodes. Once again, you can submit questions to us if you like. We have an email address. It's theredflagspodcast@gmail.com. That's red spelled with 2 D's. If you have any questions, advice, anything that you want to ask us, we would appreciate it if you recorded a voice memo on your phone and sent it to us so that we could play it on the show. If you're not cool or comfortable doing that, then, just shoot us a regular text email. Also, if you see any topics on Reddit that you think we might have missed and that would make interesting topics, feel free to send those to us as well.
Yeah, and any disagreements. I think I always want to make it clear that it's okay it's okay, definitely okay if Greg and I disagree on a topic, but if you think that something we've said is not quite how you feel, I would love to hear more.
Yes, I 100% agree with that, and I'm really looking forward to when we get into our first disagreement because it hasn't really happened yet. But,
yeah, me too. I can't wait to fight.
And if you agree with me, you should definitely email and let us know. All right. Well, thanks everybody for listening. And I guess we'll see you next time.
Bye, Mom.
Bye, Mrs. Gould.